Hello everybody and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the esophagus and the stomagus. And I hope you bear with me today because there's so many words in this video that are really difficult for me to pronounce. So please be patient and try not to judge me. I am trying to do the best I can to give you the best content and inform you and give you some conscious and different perspective of why sometimes you have a disease. I realized that on my last video about the testicles, I said testicles all the time when it's actually testes. I realized that later. I did that on the captions later and I changed the photos and all of that. In Spanish, which is my first language, we said testículos, which means testicles for me. But hey ho, I learned something on that day. But I just thought I would post it anyways. But today we're going to be talking about the esophagus and the stomagus. And taking advantage, the April is the month of esophagus cancer awareness. So I thought, well, if you talk about the esophagus, you truly have to talk about the esophagus and the stomagus together. Because the conflicts, the emotional conflicts with those two, they normally go together. So the whole digestive system goes together. So when the digestive system has the functions of catch the bite, so let's pretend we have an apple here. So we're gonna go to the functions with my apple, my imaginary apple. So you have an apple here, so you have to catch the bite with your teeth, your lips, and then once it's inside your mouth, you have to chew it. That's another function, and that's where the tongue and the saliva will help you with the teeth, will help you to chew that bite, that piece of apple you just had. And then after we have to swallow it. Once we swallow it, it will go straight to the esophagus, which that organ has the function of transport that bite that you just had, the apple you just had. So now the esophagus will have to transport it to take it straight to the stomagus, which has the function of digesting the food that we just had. So now that apple will have to be digested by the stomagus. And then after we'll have to go to this small intestine, so it will be absorbed. So all the good nutrients and all of that will be absorbed by the small intestines. And then after, elimination will come. So now the apple that we catch is going to have to be eliminated. The good stuff will stay with us. The bad stuff will have to go. So I have to put this as an example to explain you why, because every conflict with the digestive system has to do with a conflict with the bite, that piece of food, not the real food, that emotional food. And what do I call my bite? That apple is the example, but truly what I'm talking about, everything that I believe is mine. My body is mine, my house is mine, my kids, my husband, my job, my dog, my car. Anything that I believe it's mine, that is that bite. But when we have conflicts with the digestive system, we have a conflict with a bite, with something that I believe is mine, but also something to do with death, with the separation, with injustice, with something really dirty, maybe somebody done to us, fights we had, something that it's difficult sometimes to digest, to swallow, stories like that. Because when something is nice, when you have this beautiful relationship with your husband, it's all in love, all beautiful, it's nothing difficult there to digest. When we have some issues with our digestive system, and depending of what part of the digestive system we have is the conflict that we have. If you have a problem in your teeth, it's something that is difficult to chew, something difficult to catch most of the time. So conflicts depends of that. So if you have issues with the stomach or the esophagus, now we're going to talk about. Now, if you have issues with your intestines, we're talking about issues with letting go, issues with elimination of something dirty, something injustice, something that I didn't want to go through, or maybe a death. Somebody died. I felt that this was an injustice. The person shouldn't have died, and now I'm having struggles to deal with that, to digest this, and to let go also of those emotions that I have. So it all depends on what part of the digestive system you have the issues. Now, if we go back now to the esophagus, so now this apple that you catch, that you bite, that you chew, that you swallow, when you saw this apple maybe in the table, it looks shiny, crispy, juicy maybe. You thought, wow, this is perfect. So now I catch the apple. But once I got into my mouth, I thought, well, actually, it wasn't that sweet. It wasn't that juicy. It wasn't that crispy. And now I'm having issues to even swallow this apple. And this is what exactly happens when we have problems with the digestive system. Something maybe that we wanted to catch, but once it's there, we just think, oh, that's not so good. So all the conflicts with the stomach has to do with that bite that I want to have, but I can have, that bite that I want to catch, but I can catch, that bite that I can swallow, that bite in my life that I can transport. I renegade to transport this, not because after this is going to have to be digested. Conflicts with the bite that I cannot let go, that I cannot eliminate, or that I cannot absorb. I don't want this bite to be part of me. Those are the conflicts with the digestive system. But going back to the esophagus, once I swallow that bite, now it has to be transported. So then after it will go straight to that big bag that it's the esophagus. And once it's in the stomach, it needs to be digested. And people who have issues with the esophagus have issues with transporting that, because once it goes through the pharynx and now I swallow it, now I have to transport this. I have to transport this down, and I'm refusing to make this part of me. This is when it's in the superior part of the esophagus. But when it's in the inferior part, in the lowest part, now is when maybe some people may have the Barrett esophagus problems, or they may have GERD, you know what I'm talking about, gastroesophagus, reflux, yeah? When you have that reflux, that's when we have the reflux or the acid reflux that goes back again, is because this bite that I just swallowed, that I'm transporting now, is really close to get into the stomach. Now I'm gonna have to digest this. I refuse to get to this, so I need a lot of acid to get this out, because once this goes down, is no way back. And I won't be able to maybe vomit this, right? So now I need all this acid, and that's why people suffer with acid reflux. And the acid needs to go back, because I don't want this bite to go down. And I don't want this bite to be part of me, because if it gets to the stomach, it's going to be part of me. And I refuse to get into that point. Also, we have the esophagus cancer. Well, we are in the same thing. I refuse to digest this. I refuse to let this go down. But with the cancer, we need to see how big the tumor is, what is the actual size, when was the diagnosis, and what part of the esophagus the tumor is encountered. So after the bite goes down to the esophagus, it needs to pass by this pipe. the food pipe that communicates the esophagus with the stomach is. This pipe there has to do everything with the love that we receive maybe once, and now we keep looking for this love again in other people. But it has to do with all of that. So once I let that go, it has to do with that love that maybe I'm gonna start looking for. And you're gonna understand what I'm going with this, because now we are in the stomach. The stomach are conflicts of identity, of conflicts of my place in this family. I don't know what place I have. The place that maybe people are giving me is the place I don't like. But maybe I'm not my mom's favorite, or maybe I'm not my dad's favorite. I'm nobody's favorite. Somebody else is the favorite. They never choose me to do the things I want to do. Conflicts with this, with my identity and my place and my role that I have in my family. People who suffer with stomach problems are people who had this issue already in early ages, and now they struggle maybe in their jobs or with the school or with their partner, and when they have a little anything, will have an issue with the stomach. People who suffer with stomach problems are people that feel they are not understand. They don't feel comprehend for people. They don't feel that nobody understands them. So also these people that suffer with stomach live their lives in the justice or injustice way. Everything is justice, just or unjust for them. Nothing is in between that. Their life is between the justice, about making justice, or something was not fair, was unfair for them. Their life is always that in that way. The fair or the unfair is not an in between of that. There are normally people who tend to be a bit moaning a lot. They're always moaning about this and moaning about that. But this goes back again, because when they were children, they were a child, they were people were not understood by the family. They didn't have the place in the family. So now they live this life where everything is unfair for them, and they don't feel maybe value in the society in general most of the time. But this goes back to that childhood that they felt this way. Now, when people have stomach problems, I always also look for miscarriages or abortions before they were born in their mother. And you may say, no, my mom has none of that. Well, actually, I have seen this so many times where people think the mom didn't have, or mom never said anything, because sometimes it's shameful to say I actually had an abortion, or maybe even painful to say that they had a miscarriage. So they never share this information. But people with stomach problem, this is one of the first thing I look for, because I've seen this way too many times. And you say, well, why is this gonna have to do with the stomach? Because I already said it. When we have issues with the stomach, we have issues with our identity, with my place in my family. So let's say you are the first child. That's what they told you your whole life. You are the first child for your mom and your dad. But truly what happens is that your mom had a miscarriage before you. So really, truly, you are not the first child, you are the second child. So you've been living a life in a place that is not yours. And you actually may live life thinking that you are never in the right place. They never give you the right place at work. You may be working so hard to get this position, but they never give you this position. That creates a gastritis later on for you, because you already been living a whole life in the place that is not yours. They make you believe you're the first child, but truly you are the second child. And I see this too many times. And I see this many times when people say, no, my mom didn't have a miscarriage, my mom did not have an abortion, but I have the family tree right in front of me, and I can see that, because that is the magical part of the family tree, that I can even see these things. And when they go and check with mom, like I had many of my consultants seeing this, actually the last days I had this lady, which in many of the symptoms she had also a gastritis problems. And I said, well, has your mom lost it? Because the numbers didn't match up for me when I saw the family. She said, no, I don't believe so. But she asked mom, and she said, yeah, actually mom had an abortion before her. And her response to me, she said, once she said that to me, Claudia, I said, I felt in the right place. I never liked to be the first child. I feel good actually being the second one, because I always felt that was not my place. So people with stomach problems, I will check for this always. So, well, let's go to pronunciation problems now. Hiatal hernia. Oh, God, I think I did it right. Hiatal hernia. Right. People with hiatal hernia, I would just make you imagine that you just cut your stomach. You just put a belt right in the top part of the stomach. Well, that is what hiatal hernia is. And what people do unconsciously is to do this because something very, very unacceptable had happened to them. Something that was truly, truly indigestible. So what they do is they just tie this belt on them, on the stomach, so they cannot let go more food. So I cannot keep digesting this that is unacceptable, truly or horrible, that I don't want to go, because I refuse to digest this terrible thing that just happened. It was not fair what just happened. It was unacceptable. Everything, unmoral sometimes. I just don't let that go. So I put this belt tight so food will not pass through. Gastritis. People with gastritis normally tend to live in the past. They still remember the past, what happened in the past, and normally the past is never nice. And that's when I said that they have issues sometimes with the parents not being in the right place, not feeling worthy in that family, not feeling the favor, not feeling all of that. People with gastritis normally tend to live in situations and moments of their past. There are people who refuse constantly to digest. Maybe they have these issues around them at work. They are really indigestible, that they just don't like it, and they just refuse constantly because the gastritis keeps coming back and back and back. And then ulcers. Well, ulcers tells us the people with ulcers tend to be people who live in the phrase of it's too late to say no. People who have ulcers normally are people that tend to say yes to everything that they don't want to do or they don't want to digest. People with ulcers are people who like to please other people, or felt they are always pleasing other people. They feel that they even have an obligation to please other people, so they keep doing things that they don't want to do. And so when they feel that, they also feel regret for what they've done. They live a life of regret of what they should have done or said, but they did opposite. And normally the opposite is actually to please other people. People with stomach cancer, well, these people had to digest this big bite they didn't want to digest. They refuse even to digest, so they get this bite stuck on their stomach, and this bite means there is a tumor in the stomach, because I refuse to digest. And sometimes this tumor, we need to see also in what part of the stomach is, what size the tumor has. If it's one tumor, is many tumors, because if we have many tumors, it's telling also us of a couple of bites that we had that were indigestible, they were impossible to digest. I refused to do it. And it was really bad what happened, and I just refused to do it. So that's when we get the tumor. So I just make the digestion slower. It won't allow me, because that's what the tumor is right there. Anyways, I think I did pretty good today with my pronunciation. I hope that this has helped you. If you have any of these issues, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below, because I always like to know if this has helped you, because that helps me, so then I can keep bringing you new content and new subjects. And if you have any subjects you like me to talk about it, please leave a comment below. Also, I must say, people with these issues, people with stomach issues, with the digestive system issues, are people that need to forgive. Forgive is a must, because forgive the past, forgive parents, forgive your parents for whatever they done, for all those injustice. We need to find out if you have a brother or sister before you that you were not aware, but we need to forgive. Forgiveness is one of the main things for people with stomach problems, because they refuse to digest, to swallow, and to eliminate. And for that, when you are refusing to eliminate that, it means that it feels like if you are taking poison and you are waiting for people to die, they're never gonna die. Who is dying inside is you. Your stomach is telling you, your intestines, your esophagus, everything in your body is telling you, you are being taking this poison, and you're sitting there waiting for these people to die, and they won't die. And that's truly what this is telling you by not forgiving. So forgiveness is a big part, but also we need to work together. Hopefully you choose to do that, and then we can get to the root problem of these issues, to see also what all the stories in your family tree are of indigestion, of indigestible stuff, and stuff that were really hard to digest, to eliminate, and to swallow. We need to look for all of those in your family tree. So that is what I would say about how to heal all of this. Like I said, this lady the other day, she said, once I realized that I had a brother or a sister before me, that has lifted so many things in my life. It was amazing. I will make a video for that in the next week, so keep tuned for that. You take care now, and until next video. Bye bye.